Of Weather Center Live, we are tracking this historic Hurricane Iselle. This is a rare setup. In fact, some of the impacts are very difficult to forecast, mainly because Hawaii's unique landscape and topography. Talking about 14,000-foot mountains on the Big Island, and we have a team of experts tracking the hurricane as the Big Island is already dealing with quite a bit of heavy rain right now and strong winds, which will only get stronger throughout the rest of this evening. We'll get an update, live update on the Big Island from a Jim Cantori station in Hilo coming up in about 10 minutes.
And good evening, everybody. We are right here on the east side of Hilo Bay, what is normally quite docile, but now we've got a 30-mile-per-hour wind rolling through here, even over the breakwall, which has waves, by the way, crashing over the top of it right now. Some of the seas offshore, about 25 feet, and they'll be crashing against the cliffs here on the beautiful Big Island here. Of course, now, as we take a look at Hilo, we are obviously concerned about this storm surge and the wave action that is going to come in at high tide, and we could easily see some overwash down there on the highway if things come out just at the nick of time. We've got a lot to be concerned about. Right now, we've got a break in the rain. That is a good thing. If we can get more breaks, the better. The bad news is, not only are we going to deal with the worst of Iselle tonight, but we've also now got a Category 3, a major hurricane, in Julio. Let's bring in our senior hurricane forecaster, Brian Norcross, to talk about this. Brian, is Julio going to weaken as much in terms of this advisory as we thought it would earlier as it approaches the islands on Sunday?
Well, it's certainly going to weaken, it looks like. It's very much the pattern of Iselle, right? It peaked, Iselle peaked a couple of days ago, went up to a Category 4 hurricane, was this annular hurricane. We said they last longer as annular hurricanes. It did indeed. That's why we have still at hurricane force approaching the island there. And this one looks like it's going to do the same thing. National Hurricane Center is saying it could still be at hurricane force when it's near the island, but they are tracking it to the north, Jim. Let me show these cones here because they're just in from both of the hurricane centers here tracking these storms. 75-mile-an-hour winds is the estimate of the peak winds in Iselle at 95 miles offshore for the center, moving at 15 miles per hour. So that's still over 6 hours to get the center ashore. So that is 5 o'clock in the morning East Coast time, and that's 11 o'clock p.m. there in Hawaii. So 6 more hours to get the center ashore. And Michael Lowry is going to be here in just a moment, and he'll show you that radar where that's going. You see the forecast here now. It looks like the odds are it goes south of Hilo. Most of these possible tracks take it south of Hilo, and the thinking is after it passes the island, it's down to a 65-mile-an-hour tropical storm. Continues slow weakening, but this is where the center goes, down south of the islands, and that still puts the winds, the windward kind of direction on the winds over all of the Hawaiian Islands, passing by during the day tomorrow into early Saturday before it gets by Kauai there. Here on the water vapor, you can see the dry air around Iselle, one of the negative factors that it has been facing, and we see less dry air around Julio here, but it has the same kind of issues ahead of it, cooler water and then some dry air, so that's why the forecast is for Julio to weaken. We're going to show you that here in just 1 second. Here's the numbers, brand new, out of the National Hurricane Center in Miami on Julio, 115 miles per hour, 966 is the estimate. Now, we don't have any hurricane hunters out there. It's still over 1,000 miles out of Hilo, but we do have the NOAA jet out there. So the NOAA jet is flying a pattern all around Julio, and that information will go into the computer models tonight. So tomorrow morning's forecast will be the best the technology can deliver on Julio. So our forecasts right now are hampered by less than perfect information. It's moving to the west at 16. There's the close-up on it. And you see it got very bright and round and colorful, an annular hurricane again, meaning it's a round shape around a very well-developed eye. But now we can see a little erosion here, as it probably hasn't come close to peaking in intensity. That's the thinking from the National Hurricane Center. All right, here is the cone on Julio. So you see there, remember it's 115 miles per hour now. They're keeping it about the same strength. They're weakening it slowly through the day tomorrow, and then it comes into that less favorable environment. So it's continuing to weaken again, which is expected, and which all storms do as they approach the Hawaiian Islands from this direction. And the tracks are all to the north. So that's the way the models are indicating now, and they're very unified in that, but it does have Kauai there in the cone, although most of the tracks to the north, but a big circulation, so still some effect on the Hawaiian Islands.